I acknowledge that the work of the Manitoba government is carried out on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Anishinaabeg, the Dakota Oyate, the Dene, the Métis, the Inuit, and the Inukjuak peoples. And specifically, going back to time immemorial, these territories have always been home to people like Chief Peguis and going on to lineages far beyond him that have welcomed people from around the world, fleeing conflict, fleeing natural disaster, and fleeing famine. As we gather here today, I also want to acknowledge the grief of the Altamar family in Transcona. Nello was our brother, our friend, our colleague. We love him so much, and he will be missed. And so on behalf of the people of Manitoba, I want to say to Barb and to Kira and to Aiden that we are so sorry for your loss, and we are so proud of your husband and dad and the amazing things that he was able to do as a teacher, as a principal, as an MLA, and as a minister of the Crown. So we're very sorry for your loss, and we acknowledge our good friend's passing. A short time ago, my wife Lisa and I welcomed the first of two children who are coming to Manitoba from Gaza to be able to access healthcare services which are simply not available in the region at this current time. Now, these children, in conjunction with our work with the federal government, have been carefully selected under the advice of excellent medical professionals here in the province to be able to be targeted for healthcare services from aspects of our healthcare system that currently have the capacity to help out. So, to the people of Manitoba, we are stepping up to help two kids from Gaza who need urgent medical attention, and we're doing this in a way that will allow us to continue to serve your medical needs and to put your priority of fixing our healthcare system as our number one job. But thanks to Dr. Morris and others and their hard work, we have identified a couple of matches where these two children and their medical needs match up nicely with areas of our healthcare system where we have the capacity to help. Of course, our federal partners, and I want to acknowledge Ministers Duguid and Miller, who are standing here with us today, they were absolutely pivotal in bringing these first arrivals of this program to the country. But also, in a reassuring way, I want to share that the utmost of care and judiciousness was exercised when the background screening, the biometric identification, and the security vetting was conducted. And so that went through all of the rigorous processes that national security demands, but also that allow us to say that we are truly focused on helping the innocent here in this instance. I think that people across Manitoba have all been moved by what we've seen in Gaza and the region. And I know that talking about my colleagues who are here today, Ministers Fontaine, Seguera, Naylor, Kennedy, MLAs Chen and Pankratz, there's certainly been a ton that we've been hearing and advocacy that we've been trying to do to first and foremost keep people together here at home in Manitoba and foster that sense of unity around us being one Manitoba and one province, while of course answering the humanitarian calls and questions that people in the community have been bringing forward. And so today we're standing with our partners from the federal government, from Médecins Sans Frontières, from the provincial healthcare system, and your provincial government to say that we are helping two children from Gaza to be able to access urgent medical attention. And this is in keeping with the humanitarian spirit that our province has been founded and built on over the decades and centuries. And so I think the main thing that I just wanted to speak to you about today is why. Why are we helping these two kids from Gaza get health care that they can't get in the region? And we're doing this because at the end of our lives, when we meet our Maker, and the good Creator asks us, you who were given so many opportunities, how did you use my grace to ease the suffering of innocence? I want the good people of Manitoba to be able to continue to say, kind Spirit, perhaps we failed insofar as we could not stop all suffering and we could not stop all war. but we did what we could, and we did not look away. And so to the people of Manitoba, I want you to know that this is who we have always been. We have always been a people who stand up during times of conflict and famine and natural disaster to help the innocent. And we must continue to be that. And notwithstanding the failures over our history to stand up for the rights of Indigenous children, at this time of Every Child Matters, I want us to continue to plant our flag in the notion that our province and our country can be a beacon for human rights around the world. And so it's with the greatest of humility that I'm asking you, my fellow Manitobans, to set out 2 more place settings at the table of our Manitoba family. And to our newest fellow residents here in the province, I want to say that I can only imagine what you've been through over the last little while, but I want you to know that no matter how bad things get, there are always people who are willing to help. And you can call them Manitobans. You can call them Canadians. And we will always support your right to return home when it is safe for you to do so. But if you choose to stay here, then I want you to know that there is a place for you in Manitoba. And then you too can be the helper. You too can be a Manitoban, and you too can be a Canadian. So with those few words, I want to invite Minister Mark Miller to the podium. Thanks, Mark.
Allô tout le monde, merci Monsieur le Premier ministre. D'abord, merci pour la reconnaissance territoriale de la terre sur laquelle nous nous trouvons, et évidemment toutes mes condoléances de ma famille, évidemment, et de la famille du gouvernement fédéral à la famille de Nello Altamar. All my condolences to the loss in your family of Nello Altamar, and I know we spoke about this at the airport yesterday. It's a difficult time for you, and I want to salute your courage in working through this. This is an important day. It's an important day because, and Premier Kinew was quite humble about this, and I've learned that this is a characteristic of his personality. Premier Kinew phoned me up a few months ago and said, how do we make this happen? There's kids dying in Gaza. There's sick kids that we could get out. It's difficult to get them out. And indeed, if you look at the federal plan that we've put forward to get 5,000 people out, we have 1,500 that are cleared to travel. There's 600 plus that have been able to get here, 1,100 under a bunch of policies that I won't bore you with. But we've essentially been pulling them out the best of our ability, one by one, and it hasn't been easy. Once folks get here, when they're sponsored by their family, they will and are entitled to 3 months of federal health benefits. After that, the province takes over. And as announced today, there are financial assistance for those folks coming. But for those that are in a situation where their kids are sick, there are a few people stepping up, and Wab Kinew is one of them. We've quietly brought some people into Canada, into other provinces, but there are very few leaders that have stood up and said, we're going to put our name, I'm going to put my name behind this and make this my personal initiative to bring these people in, and Wab Kinew is one of them and stands out as one of them. So I think to those listening today, governments are heavy, they're bureaucratic, but the will of one person can make a difference, and Wab Kinew is that person. So he phoned me up and said, how do we make this happen? How do we work with Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, to get these people here? That involves a lot of diplomatic outreach. It relies on people, trusting people on the ground, and getting the assurances that they can get here in time to help these kids and their families. And today we did that. There are many more that are suffering, thousands and thousands more. The ceasefire is something that, as tenuous as it seems, is something that is very positive. I think we can be quite happy that perhaps there is a light at the end of things. But today is about these individuals that the Premier has stepped up and his team has stepped up to say, we're going to stand behind these folks, we're going to bring them to Manitoba, hopefully going to get them better, and they're welcome here, or whenever they decide to return, they can go back. This is about people working together. So simply wanted to thank the province of Manitoba for working with us, encourage other provinces to do the same, because as Premier Kinew said at the end of the day, this is about what you say when you meet your maker. And I think we all owe it to ourselves to take a look at what we are doing as a government, always have a gut check, and to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So thank you very much. And I pass the microphone over to my colleague and friend, Minister Duguid.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Premier, for those heartfelt, compassionate, powerful words that we've just heard from both of you, and thank you for making this particular initiative your personal mission. I think it is. It's just. I think the word that I'm searching for right now is heartwarming, and I thank you and the Manitoba government. You brought community together. You brought governments together to embrace this family who is in need. And as has been said, we're gathering on a day where there's much hopefulness for peace in the Middle East, and that finally the destruction, the violence, the suffering we've seen in the Middle East will finally end, particularly in Gaza. And what we do today to help this family that is arriving on our shores as we speak is another hopeful and positive development after more than a year of so much pain, so much suffering for the people of that region. And just to amplify on what Minister Miller has shared with us, our government is working to position this family and hopefully others for successful lives in Canada. We are providing financial assistance to meet their basic needs alongside 3 months of temporary health coverage under the interim federal health program. This financial support will ensure access to essentials like food, clothing, and housing, as well as settlement services such as language training, school enrollment assistance, and employment support to help them adapt to Canadian life. And the parent will also be eligible to apply for study or work permits free of charge. And maybe just a few final words. I really want to give a shout out to, again, the local leaders and the community that will support these families and welcome them to Manitoba. As the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg South, and I share a good part of my district with my good friend Dave Pankratz, we are privileged to represent the largest and fastest growing Muslim community in Manitoba. There are 2 mosques in my district which serve as community centers, as hubs for community life, which I know these families will enjoy and benefit from. And I know our Palestinian community, our Arabic-speaking community, our Muslim community, our broader community, all Manitobans will wrap their arms around this family that is joining us today, the other family, and ensure that they have everything that they need to meet their spiritual needs, their physical needs, their educational needs, their employment needs, and become truly a part of the Manitoba family. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for the community and the governments that are working together to make this day happen. And I will call to the podium Dr. Melanie Morris, Medical Director of the Winnipeg Global Surgical Office, Canada's first Indigenous plastic surgeon. Melanie.
First, I would like to begin by acknowledging Premier Canoe, Minister Miller, Minister Duguid, and Dr. Jason Nickerson, and all the representation from the government today for their leadership and collaboration in making this announcement possible today. I'm so honored to stand before you and share a little bit about my role in this meaningful effort. As the Medical Director of the Winnipeg Global Surgery Office and as Canada's first Indigenous pediatric surgeon and the Indigenous lead for the Children's Hospital, I've dedicated my life to speak up for those without a voice, for those who have been left behind, and those who can't access healthcare in the same way many of us can. As a doctor, as a Métis mother, a daughter, a sister, an auntie, and most importantly, as a human being, I feel such a profound responsibility to help wherever I can. When this opportunity arose, I knew I couldn't turn away, and truthfully, I have always loved working with kids. To see the world in their eyes is a gift, and I cherish every day I get to work with them. This is why I've chosen to volunteer my time and expertise for this child. And beyond my regular duties, I will ensure that they receive the medical care that they need to heal and move forward. The unimaginable challenges this child and their family have faced, the loss, the fear, the uncertainty, are difficult for me to comprehend. Yet their strength, their resilience in the face of such adversity is truly humbling. I'm here to provide care. I'm deeply moved by their courage and their strength. And I want to express my profound gratitude for everyone here who played a role in making this happen. The governments, the organizations, the communities that tirelessly work to make these things possible. It's a powerful example of what we can achieve when we come together with compassion and purpose. Thank you so much for allowing me to contribute to this effort and for believing in the power of compassion and believing in how together we can make a meaningful impact and create change. Thank you. And it's with my pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. Jason Nickerson from Médecins Sans Frontières.
Hey, good afternoon. I want to start by expressing my sincere thanks to Premier Canoe and Minister Miller, as well as their staff for their leadership and support of this initiative, and of course to the clinical teams at Winnipeg Health Sciences Centre who will be providing the care that these patients need, as well as to the officials with Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada who helped make this happen. Thank you. At a time where the world can feel polarizing and overwhelming, it's important to remember that there's always moments of humanity that bring us together. Providing needed medical care to children and their families is surely one of them. Today's announcement of a patient from Gaza arriving in Canada to receive needed surgical care is good news. It is good news for the patient who will receive medical care that they urgently need. It is good news for a family who've been waiting. It's a marker of our shared humanity. Today, the medical needs in Gaza are absolutely immense. Our teams from Doctors Without Borders, or Médecins Sans Frontières, are responding as best they can, providing care to patients affected by the war. But more than 100,000 people have been injured, and more than 12,000 people are awaiting medical evacuations for specialized medical care that they urgently need. I want to sincerely thank the province of Manitoba, the people of Manitoba, and the Government of Canada for today's announcement and for facilitating this medical transfer. I hope that other provinces take note that it is possible to do this, and that this is the start of some momentum to provide life-saving medical care to more children and families in need. Thank you.
All right, we can open it up for a Q&A. Privacy, yeah. Yeah, I can start at a very high level and then, of course, invite Dr. Morris up after that. I think the first thing that, we got to qualify all this by is that we always have a responsibility to safeguard the privacy of people when we're talking about healthcare. Everyone has a right to that privacy, and the confidential conversation between you and your doctor and your healthcare provider is something that we always put paramount emphasis on. When we were talking about this, I think one of the first things that we did was we talked to the healthcare experts here, and Dr. Morris is one of them, to get a sense for who is willing to put up their hand and help. And Dr. Morris has volunteered a huge amount of her personal time going back into last year to aid with reviewing patient lists and to liaise with people in the healthcare system. So she's busy enough as it is as a surgeon doing super important procedures on some of the smallest Manitobans in our province. But she has stepped up in a remarkable way to go above and beyond. And we believe there's the one child who arrived today, and if all goes well with our planning, there'll be another child who arrives in a few weeks' time. We believe that we can provide care to each of these children in a way that they're going to be looked after by parts of the healthcare system where we have the capacity to help. So first and foremost, our number one job each and every day is to cut down on wait times in the emergency rooms and to staff up healthcare. And so that work is going to continue being the lion's share of the focus of Minister Asaguera and the rest of our team. And yet, through collaboration with people like Dr. Morris, we've identified, well, we do have a capacity to help in this other part of the healthcare system, if you will. And so I think what we can share here is that the child that we're talking about is 11 years old. It's a young boy who traveled to Manitoba with his mom. And the community is stepping up to look after the needs and the housing and the food for this family. Wonderful physicians and healthcare practitioners are stepping up to provide care for this child who has a genetic condition that requires some assistance, but there simply isn't the capacity to help in Gaza or in the region right now. And so for us to step up as Manitobans in that way that we always have through conflicts in Ukraine and Syria and going back through the world wars and through times of famine and right back to the days of Peguis, I think is an important articulation of our values, that it's still who we are going forward into the future. So hopefully that's a helpful comment. I don't know, Mel, if you want to add. Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's all
Maybe
about...
step up to the mic.
I think when we look at these kinds of opportunities and challenges that we have to tackle, it's about having meaningful conversations with all members of the healthcare team. And I think it's collaboration with many of my colleagues that we were able to identify places where we could accommodate the patient. And I can't obviously go into medical details, but many of my colleagues and administrative people within the hospital were involved in making these decisions, so that we could work together to make sure that that all the other children that we have to take care of are equally valued.
Yeah, look, there are other kids that have come to Canada. A couple have been treated in Ontario and Toronto. Shrapnel wounds, stuff like that. Connection to Canada, families willing to sponsor, parents been killed. So we've had to be a little creative in getting them here and making sure that we advocate for getting them safely out of Gaza, or if they've managed to get their way to Cairo, principally, making sure that we prioritize their screening and that then their departure, and then their welcome here as well as their treatment here. It's not simply about stamping a visa and saying, figure it out, guys. It's a lot more coordinated than that. We have to make sure that we have the professionals that can actually treat the case, that can take on the case, the province that will be willing to support these kids in their needs, and the families that will be able to support them when they're here, or the family member that will accompany them. So it's one at a time. There are very, like I said, WAB is one of the few that has put his political capital behind it, but we are doing it regardless of how much political capital is being put behind it. Obviously, when that is done, it's easier to do because it's easier to coordinate and to make sure the services are provided in a seamless way between the provincial government and the federal government. I can't give you an idea of numbers. I'd actually have to go dig that up. Frankly, not that many, but obviously encouraging provincial governments to do the same as Dr. Nixon did as well. If we can do this in a more concerted way, we can get more people out. There are currently cases pending where we're trying to get sick kids out. There are private sponsors that are looking with open hearts, that are willing to put money on the table to support this and to get them into institutions across the world, frankly, but in Canada that has one of the best medical systems in the world to treat these particular cases. So we're hoping to see more. Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders is playing a pivotal role as well. IRCC facilitates not only the issuances of visas, the screening that's done by CBSA, but also some of the very, very difficult diplomatic work between sides that obviously don't trust each other. So it's not as simple as just pulling them out of a run-of-the-mill country.
So is this the first time where it's not sort of a familial relation that's involved?
I couldn't tell you, but I would say it's the first time where we've seen real political weight being put behind it and willing to step up for kids that don't necessarily have any other connection to Canada.
Premier, can you just,
Yeah.
up until this point, like, are you able to say how many possible refugees Manitoba has welcomed from Gaza up to now?
That's really more a question for you, I would say.
I don't have a breakdown by province. We were able to extract, as a first phase, those people that were Canadian citizens and permanent residents. And in a second phase, a commitment to 5,000 people that had family connections here. There are, I'd say, all in the categories that mush together, about 1,100 plus that we've been able to extract, or that have often had to pay a lot of money to get to Cairo, that we were able to process and get here. It's slow, it's painful, fewer than we had expected at this point in time. But there are about 1,500 applications that are approved to move to come here. The breakdown by province I can't have you. I don't have right now.
Just like to the best of your knowledge, maybe like would this maybe then not be, I guess, the first sort of case where there are people from Gaza coming to Manitoba?
No, I don't think it would be the first case. The individual families are sponsor families from all the provinces, so that's a breakdown that we don't have today.
And Premier, just for you again,
Yeah.
Are you expecting to see more, are you expecting to bring more children over and more people over?
Well, this is a new pathway to help kids in Gaza be able to get medical attention. And so that's what's new here, right? Is that we're providing a humanitarian pathway into our province for sick kids to be able to get help by some of our healthcare heroes. And right now, you've heard an allusion to all the work that it's taken to bring one child into our province. In a very humble way, we're talking about 2 kids here. And so it's with the greatest humility that I'm asking, people in Manitoba to support this. We've got tons of challenges here at home in terms of fixing healthcare and fixing the economy and stuff like that. But can we help 2 kids during their time of need? I think we can, and that's why we've been leaning on the expertise and the, I guess, humanitarian impulse of the great people in the community and working with our federal partners here. It's taken a lot of effort to get this child and his mother here into our province today. We plan to have another child arrive in a few weeks' time. We've had the not-for-profit sector step up to provide the housing. We have the community led by the Manitoba Islamic Association, but again, people from all walks of life making contributions to look after the needs and the groceries for this family. So I encourage Manitobans in that very charitable spirit of giving that you have. If this is something that calls to you as a humanitarian initiative, you can look to help out here. Our role as the government here is primarily to facilitate. We know who the people in healthcare are who are willing to provide care. We have good partnerships at the federal level in terms of bringing people into the country. We have partnerships in the community, in all communities really, to not only drum up support, but also to provide reassurance and explain to our fellow Manitobans how this is in keeping with our shared values as one province and one people who have a shared future together here in this part of the world. So I think it's an important symbolic and value statement about who we are as a province, that even if it's helping 2 kids, we'll do that because that's who we are.
Can you see if the second child has a genetic issue, or if it's injuries from the conflict, or how old they're anything about the second child?
I think because we're not at the point of booking flights for the second child, maybe I'll stay away from any further comment, because we're still in the process of, doing all the, security clearances and stuff like that. We expect them to go through, but again, we're not booking plane tickets, so I don't know that I'd talk about details just yet. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it means particularly in cases where kids are really sick and need specialized services provided by the provinces. You need to get the political leadership there to commit resources that can be relatively scarce to bear on these kids. It isn't about bringing people that are entirely healthy and can hit the ground running and get a work permit and contribute to the economy. There are considerations that politicians and other people might consider when people come on a large scale here, especially given limited health resources. So I think as a humanitarian commitment, as a sign of who we are as Canadians and as Manitobans, it's very important to say, hey, we're going to open up our hearts, and if the political leadership isn't behind it, the federal government can't force that. Again, we've had other provinces where we've had sort of private sponsorship or hospitals step up and say, we will treat these individuals. We've facilitated that, but it's a whole heck of a lot easier when a premier stands up and says, I'm going to put my name behind it. I sure hope so, because I think we can do more as a country. I think collectively we could do a lot better by the people in Gaza, and certainly with a ceasefire coming, there's a lot of hope, but it's very tenuous. So this is a beacon of hope, and I think it's a good message for all Canadians that we can open up our hearts to people who really need the top health care in the world.
Minister, exactly, this is primarily volunteer efforts. Are there any dollars, federal or provincial, that are being spent to?
Well, they're getting federal interim health care, and then they'll get the health care from the provincial government, from the government of Manitoba. They will also, the family also be entitled to financial assistance when they're here. So it is very much supportive. There are some situations where private donors, international organizations are stepping up and looking to situate kids that are sick into institutions that can treat them. That's a nice to have. In fact, it's a great to have. But this is an initiative fully sponsored by the Government of Canada and the province of Manitoba. Oui. Mais excusez-moi. Mais je l'espère bien. On a déjà eu quelques enfants qui ont eu des conditions médicales qui sont venus de façon confidentielle dans d'autres provinces, dont l'Ontario, qui avaient des blessures de guerre ou qui avaient des conditions médicales, et on a pu faciliter leur entrée ici. Évidemment, avec le capital politique qu'a investi le premier ministre Kinew, ça fait toute la différence, évidemment, de pouvoir mettre sur la table les ressources médicales de la province du Manitoba, comme l'a été annoncé par le premier ministre et l'équipe ici aujourd'hui. Il y a un enfant puis sa mère qui sont venus ici. Il y a une autre famille qu'on regarde, mais qui ne sont pas encore venus encore, alors on hésite à en parler trop. Mais je pense qu'avec le commitment qui a été mis sur la table aujourd'hui, on peut espérer d'autres enfants. Et très franchement, nous travaillons avec d'autres organisations pour voir s'il n'y a pas une possibilité d'en amener plus au Canada. Mais évidemment, ça va prendre, surtout parce qu'il y a des besoins qui peuvent être très importants au niveau médical, ça va prendre l'appui des provinces.
Il n'y a pas beaucoup de détails que je peux partager, bien sûr, parce que c'est confidentiel. C'est juste simplement pour dire qu'il y a plusieurs docteurs qui vont être impliqués parce qu'il y a des besoins de l'enfant qui font qu'il faut la coopération entre plusieurs médecins. Il va y avoir des rendez-vous en clinique en ce moment pour juste établir l'état de santé de l'enfant. Et puis, après, on verra au niveau de le traitement. Et puis, c'est aussi pour dire que dans nos hôpitaux, il faut toujours à comprendre toutes les listes d'attente qu'on a et puis juste avoir assez de la capacité pour traiter l'enfant. Mais je ne peux pas aller en détail exactement au niveau de ces soins. Non, il est arrivé aujourd'hui. Il va voir un médecin dans les prochains jours et puis il n'est pas admis à l'hôpital. Oui. Oui, oui, c'est sûr qu'on a revisé tous les documents, on a parlé aux médecins qui sont dans la région aussi, parce qu'il faut aussi s'assurer au niveau de notre capacité pour traiter l'enfant que c'est bien jugé. Donc, c'est ça ce qui est fait avant que l'enfant est arrivé. Alors, on a parlé avec des médecins dans la région, on a parlé entre médecins ici, ainsi qu'avec les gens administratifs de l'hôpital. Alors, ce qu'on va voir, c'est un peu les besoins de l'enfant. C'est toujours difficile à longue distance d'établir exactement ce que l'enfant a besoin, mais on verra l'enfant dans les prochains jours et on pourra décider exactement c'est quoi le traitement et à quelle fréquence. Oui. Ben c'est juste, en fait, c'est un peu compliqué parce qu'on est en train de regarder les besoins de l'enfant. On parle avec des médecins dans la région, c'est sûr, avec Médecins sans frontières qui ont beaucoup d'expertise dans cette région. Et c'est avec leur appui qu'on peut exactement établir les enfants et puis essayer de voir comment ça peut se placer dans ce système parce que c'est une balance, bien sûr.
Oui, comme j'ai dit, c'est l'OMS, l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, qui a estimé qu'il y a 12 000 patients, ça fait des adultes, puis les patients pédiatriques qui ont besoin d'un Medevac pour sortir de Gaza. Alors, il y a beaucoup de personnes qui sont blessées ou ont des autres issues médicales et ont besoin de sortir pour recevoir la chirurgie ou des services médicaux spécialisés qui ne sont pas disponibles aujourd'hui au Gaza. Oui. Oui, alors comme Dr. Morris a dit, c'est nos médecins qui sont basés dans la région qui ont fait un peu de la prise en charge des patients. Alors, on était en contact avec Dr. Morris pour identifier les patients qui se font un bon match avec les ressources qui sont basées à Winnipeg.
Ouais. Quoi? Oh, c'était cet après-midi. Oui. Ben, c'était comme... c'était un moment important pour moi en tant que Manitobain, pas juste en tant que Premier ministre. Alors, ça, c'est pourquoi j'ai invité mon épouse, Lisa, d'être là. Puis on a juste... ben, les premiers mots que j'ai dit aux enfants étaient en Ojibwe. J'ai dit « Bonjour, Miigwech-Pijayin ». C'est-à-dire bonjour, je vous accueille ici. Puis on a jasé pour quelques minutes, je lui ai présenté un drapeau du Canada, juste pour... Et puis nous avons décrit avec l'aide de quelqu'un qui parle la langue, que regarde, ça c'est notre drapeau, ça c'est le maple leaf. Puis il a pris le temps d'apprendre comment dire maple, le prononcer de façon correcte. Et puis j'ai dit, regarde, ça c'est notre drapeau. Et puis quand tu vois cette érable, tu devrais penser des personnes qui aident, des personnes gentilles, et, des personnes avec des grands cœurs. Puis il a partagé qu'il manque les autres membres de sa famille, et puis qu'il veut faire ses études et he wants to be an engineer when he's older. Alors, c'était juste un enfant de 11 ans, tout comme les autres, ici au Manitoba. Et puis, il y a une condition, il y a des besoins pour améliorer sa santé. Et nous allons lui aider de la même façon que nous aidera un autre enfant de 11 ans ici dans le Manitoba. Non, nous n'avons pas une date maintenant, mais on espère dans les prochaines semaines. Probablement au mois de février, mais c'est juste un but. Oui.
Just to follow up,
Yeah.
in more opportunities like this present themselves, is your government committed to bringing over more children from Gaza that need health?
I mean, yes, in short, but it's going to be a balancing act. Like, we have to see, first of all, our ability to support these two kids while fixing the healthcare for everyone in Manitoba, which is job number one when we come to the building each and every day. And there's going to be a bit of a balancing act there. How is it going in terms of the community's ability to support these kids? How's it going with the healthcare heroes who are stepping up to deliver this? I can tell you, like, to peel back the curtain on the process here, there are spreadsheets with lists of kids on them with heartbreaking medical conditions on them. And we're looking at the list of the kids, and like, that pulls on the heartstrings, but we can't help them in Manitoba right now without maybe putting at risk the care that we're providing to Manitoba children. And so there is a huge need out there. When we're talking about kids in particular, the numbers are different than what was alluded to in the comments earlier. But we'll follow the lead of the community, we'll follow the lead of the medical professionals. And right now, humble as it may sound, we think we can help two kids. And I think that's an important statement about who we are as a province, that we're willing to step up as Manitobans. And if we can do this while still guaranteeing the best quality health care for everyone else in the province, and then maybe extend to more people, then we would look at that.
Were you able to get a sense of how the families feeling about the ceasefire?
No. I mean, I talked to this kid like I would talk to an 11-year-old here in Manitoba, right? So first things I said to this young fella was in Ojibwe. I said, you know, bonjour, miigwech pijayan, which is basically, you know, welcome, hello, how are you doing? And we shared a few words through a translator. I gave him a flag, a little mini Canadian flag. I said, that's the maple leaf, and we went through a little practice of him learning how to say maple. And I just said, I hope when you see this maple leaf in the future, you think of people who help, you think of people who are kind, you think of people who are generous. And he shared that he misses his extended family members, or his other family members, I should say, that he hasn't seen in more than a year now. And he wants to study to become an engineer when he's older. Mom shared her gratitude. She shared, you know, her hopes for her child's well-being, and she said she wants to be a contributing member of the community here. And so what you're seeing step up from the community side is, in addition to the physicians and other healthcare folks who are volunteering their time and committing to help care for these kids in a way that preserves capacity for all the needs that Manitobans have, is you have the not-for-profit sector stepping up to provide the housing for this family. And then the next one, when they arrive, you have the Manitoba Islamic Association and other folks who are stepping up who have a target of $50,000 per family. So when we're talking about income and groceries, the community has said we'll step up to look after those needs. And I think, you know, there's just an outlet here for Manitobans who have been looking at what's going on in the region and just thinking, what can we do here as little old Manitoba to help? Well, it turns out we got some amazing healthcare heroes, and we got some amazing community fundraisers and volunteers who are able to step up and allow us to say, as a province, we're going to continue to be there through times of conflict and famine and natural disaster to help people around the world who are suffering.
For Mr. Miller, are you confident that this ceasefire should be held as
I have hope, but not really. We've seen this fail before. This is confidence-building measures between two sides that don't trust each other. I think it'd be naive to suggest the opposite, but we expect it to. I think the Government of Canada expects it to, and is doing all it can to facilitate that. I don't think from day one people can expect an immediate reopening of the Rafah gates. I think both sides want to see things happen that they've been negotiating a long time for. So we hope we can only we can't not hope. I just the trust is very thin. So we have to be realistic about it, but let's see what happens Sunday. We already saw a potential setback today, but let's keep hoping, because this is sort of the brightest light we've seen in a while.
Yeah. I can tell you that we'll be putting out a book of condolence here at the Manitoba Legislature. You know, I always, in a joking way, called him the mayor of Transcona. And so anyone who's seen him in a classroom in River East, Transcona School Division, or at Dal's, or at High Neighbor Festival, or just, you know, anyone who knew this larger-than-life presence that we all knew and loved as Nello, you'll have your opportunity to come and sign the Book of Condolence and to share your recollections and some well wishes for the family. I don't have specific details that I can share about the arrangements, but we're offering our best to the family, and of course whatever support that they want as they make those plans to send off one of our best in style.
After the coffee, what are your thoughts? Do you think it was worth the time and effort? It didn't sound like it was a completely united front. What are your thoughts on where the...
I felt it was very united. I think it was really great to spend time with my fellow premiers in this moment where putting on a hat that says Canada's not for sale all of a sudden gets a fist bump from everybody who sees it. Like, I mean, it's great to see Canadians stepping up with pride. It's too bad that we're seeing the sort of, I guess, threat to our economy that is bringing that out, but I like the way that Canadians rally around the flag. And that really is what I'm seeing happen. So, you know, we're still family, even if that one cousin doesn't show up for holiday meals, right? We're still family. And one of the things that I want to say to Canadians who are watching this, you know, process unfold and are thinking ahead to Trump swearing in next week is we're going to be there for your jobs. We're going to be there when it comes to helping our economy and the cost of living. And what I heard in that room with the other premiers and with the federal government is we're going to be there for the oil and gas workers if there's a threat to them. We're going to be there for the auto workers if there's a threat to them. And you can be damn sure that I'm there making sure that the ag sector of Manitoba, the people in the mining industry here in Manitoba, transportation, manufacturing, finance, all of the hardworking Manitobans that we have, that there's a strong voice for you as well too. And what I heard in the course of the day, of the give and take, was a recognition across all the regions and all the different political perspectives around the table that we're going to have one another's back. And we're not going to allow one region to be targeted, or we're not going to allow one region to fall behind the others here. And it really is that kind of united we stand moment. And I hope that Canadians take some encouragement from the fact that you do have a table where conservatives and liberals and nonpartisan and New Democrats all sit together and put the country first. Because before any of us sign a party card, we all learn to sing "O Canada." And I think that's the type of moment that we're in right now.
What about your connections or your contacts or your meetings with people south of the...
In the States? Yeah.
What's happening with those discussions or efforts?
Well, it's taken up a lot of our time because these are really important relationships. And, you know, we'll be heading down as a group of premiers to Washington, D.C. On February 12th. And as the Manitoba government and as the premier, will continue to be making trips south of the border to make that case to the governors, to the business leaders, to the senators, to the Congress people, to folks in the new administration, that trade with Manitoba is good for people in your district and that we're going to stand up for people right here at home. And so we're going to have a strong response next week as Canadians to whatever we see from the incoming administration. But a big part of our response is to continue to liaise with people who are our friends in the States, people who are in governments in the States, people who are influential in the States. And through all those conversations, I haven't heard anybody advocating for tariffs yet.
Did you get the hat on when you take it to Washington?
Well, I was teasing Premier Ford, I need an orange hat. And Prime Minister, he said no red hats with white writing on it for now. But, you know, I think, I don't know, we're like the fact that we could still have that the sense of humor, it's needed right now. We're getting chirped by an adversary. We have to be able to chirp back. So we're going to be very, very serious when it comes to the economic supports needed to keep your job safe, needed to keep business moving forward here in Manitoba. But at the same time, if somebody wants to like put a post on social media, you know, challenging Canada, we have to be able to step back with a good sense of humor and say, yeah, well, we got some pride here on the Canadian side of the border too.
Premier, Mountain View School Division is requiring schools to recite, students in schools to recite God Save the King at the start of the school day, based on a little enforced regulation that dates back to the 1980s. Just wondering your thoughts on that, and whether the NDP government has given thought to updating that regulation, maybe having other things as part of the opening of the school day.
Yeah, I think we're starting to look at that. It's something that's under consideration by our government. This is something that is permitted under the Act right now. And so, you know, this is an area that just had a by-election for their school trustees, and so we're going to respect the local autonomy there of the division in the first instance. But in terms of the, you know, I guess longer-term thing, that is part of the Act that we're taking a look at. Well, in the same way that you asked the question, which is that it's something that is permitted right now, and we're taking a look at whether that's something that we're going to change. That's something that we're considering right now. All right, Zoom.
Thank you, Premier. Yes, we have one reporter on the line with us today. Again, we'll follow our usual one question, one follow-up format, and I'll turn it over now to Abiola from the Brandon Sun.
All right, so I just want to find out, has the government conducted any economic impact assessment on how the potential U.S. tariffs could affect the Manitoba's agriculture industry? And what are the findings if the assessment has been done?
Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit of modeling in-house, and we've also went out and got some expertise from the private sector, a few different sources actually, to do some modeling for us on a range of different scenarios that have been floated publicly about what a potential tariff situation could look like. And of course, we've modeled what our responses as a country might mean. We've done that sector by sector, so agriculture we've looked at in particular, but also a lot of the other really important parts of the Manitoba economy, including in the Westman region, like oil and gas, and like manufacturing and transportation. And the long and the short of it is, it's not good to have a tariff war. The only winner in a tariff war is the People's Republic of China, right? So at a time where we're looking globally to try and ensure that Canada and the Canadian workers are making stuff and building stuff that strengthens our economy for future generations, we really need to have a constructive and strong relationship with our closest ally and closest neighbor, which is the United States of America. I think that I'd also want to share that we've been out in the community consulting specifically with the ag industry, you know, all the sector organizations and people who speak for the producers and the farmers and the ranchers here in Manitoba. We'll be at Ag Days next week, of course. I expect this will be a top subject of conversation. And we've spoken to all those business organizations and, you know, CEOs from some of the large employers around the province, and there's a pretty unanimous concern about the impact of tariffs being applied by President-elect Trump, and so we're going to be there to support, and we're going to have your back as Manitobans.
Do you have a follow-up question, Abiola?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
That's all from Zoom. Thank you.
It was amazing. A reporter just had one question, and they were good. Maybe it was the answer. Maybe I'll get better answers next time.